Should be, yeah.
All right. I will now call the 28th session. No, this is 29th, my bad.
Nope,
29th session of the 52nd Senate. Today's April 26th, 2022.
That's it, topic. All I know is that it happened, and now we're
Can we instead switch to our favorite 16th century inventions?
I don't even know.
My favorite is the troll.
I'd like to motion that we instead talk about our favorite video game.
Oh, wow, that's a.
I think we'll do that like we did last session with roll call. I think that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Is that understood? We'll do what your favorite video game is. I better hear a lot of Minecraft, or else I will be very, very disappointed. We good to go, Kevin?
Yes, we are. And it's the 27th session.
27.
Yep.
It's the 27th.
Oh, sorry, 28th.
28th.
It's the 28th. Yeah.
Okay.
I promise it's the 28th. I think.
All right, now everyone, I will call this meeting to order. It is actually the 28th session of the 52nd Senate. It's April 26th, 2023. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand and join me if you're willing and able.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll now move into the CSU land acknowledgement. Colorado State University acknowledges with respect that the land we are on today is the traditional and ancestral homelands of the Arapaho, Cheyenne, and Ute nations and peoples. This is also a site of trade, gathering, and healing for numerous other native tribes. We recognize the indigenous peoples as original stewards of this land and all relatives within it. As these words of acknowledgement are spoken and heard, the ties that nations have to their traditional homelands are renewed and reaffirmed. CSU is founded as a land-grant institution. We accept that our mission must encompass access to education and inclusion, and significantly that our founding came at a dire cost to Native nations and peoples whose land this university was built upon. This acknowledgement is the education and inclusion we must practice in recognizing our institutional history, responsibility, and commitment. We'll now swear in new senators and associate senators. So if that's you, please come to the front, and the justice will administer the oath of office. Seeing none, we will start with, we'll move into beginning roll call. As it was discussed, say present and what your favorite video game is.
Speaker DeSalvo.
Here and Minecraft.
Officer Bakari.
Here and let's go Roblox.
Okay, I could live with that.
Parliamentarian Clark.
Here and oh, that's a tough question. You're talking about how many hours I played. The original Destiny is made by Bungie. Yeah, for us, there we go.
Chair Asan,
Here and Persona 5.
Chair Ritter, Chair Ritter. I'm sorry, I did that again. Chair Salazar,
Here and cause.
Chair Schumer, Chair Trout,
Present. I'd say right now.
Senator Abu Dhabi,
Oh. Don't even let me finish my. That's crazy.
Senator Arango Sila, Senator Aki,
Sorry, did you call my name?
Senator Ayala, Senator Benson.
Hello.
I don't think they can hear us, Mia.
Here.
Oh, no.
Senator Deeds,
Here and Minecraft, of course, closely followed by Fortnite, the season with the airplanes.
Senator Denson,
Here, we sports.
Senator Doyle,
2017 Gray.
Point of information, Mr. Speaker, I believe the Zoom was muted for some reason. Folks on Zoom, can you speak by any chance? Just test out real quick.
Hello.
Good evening.
Hello.
If we can try that again for the folks on Zoom. We've got about 11 people here.
okay, Chair Oswan,
Here and still Persona 5.
okay, Chair Ritter,
Here, present. Minecraft for sure.
okay, Chair Schumer, Chair Trout,
Present. It would probably be Warframe at the moment.
Senator Arango Sila, Senator Aki, Senator Ayala,
Here, and my recent obsession has been Hades.
Senator Benson. Okay, Senator Hill,
Brenson, present, and now it's Fallout 4.
Senator Johnson Cole,
Present, and I'm gonna have to go with Subnautica.
Senator Johnson McAllister, President, and Animal Jam, if y'all remember. Senator Kelly,
Present, and Total War Warhammer.
Senator Kilburn, Senator Kramer,
Here,
Senator Laffey, President Edo King, Senator Laffey, here, and I've never played one. Senator Levy,
Barbie Horse Adventure on the PS1 or Zoo Tycoon.
Which one?
All of them. The conglomerate.
Senator Lowe,
Present and Stardew Valley.
Senator Lutz,
Here, Star Wars Empire at War.
Senator McCall,
Here and Animal Crossing.
Senator Melchior, Senator Melka,
Simpsons Hit and Run is an old video game. And then Madden 23.
Senator Morgan, Senator Nyande, Senator Paraiso,
Here, and I'd probably say either Mario Kart or Just Dance because I'm not much of a gamer.
Senator Reed,
Here.
Senator Reese,
Here and the original Destiny.
Senator Sanchez,
Here in Minecraft.
Senator Schmidt,
Here and Phasmophobia or Dead by Daylight.
Senator Shetty, Senator Zodi,
Here, is my face visible? Can everyone see me? I'm proud to announce it is Unreal Tournament 1999.
Senator Taylor,
Here and It Takes Two.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Senator Nini,
Here and FIFA.
Senator Winston, Senator Wright,
Present. My favorite video game is Mario Kart, specifically on the DS. The 3DS was great. The DSi was much better. A Coconut Mall.
All just got cooked it up.
Associate Barbone, Associate Barrett,
Here and Call of Duty Black Ops 2 for sure.
Associate Barton,
Here and gotta say Minecraft.
Associate Chacon,
Here and GTA.
Which GTA?
Senator Chacon. Did I say that? Did I say that? Senator Ducate, or Associate Ducate, Associate Ford,
Here and Lego Star Wars: A Complete Saga.
Such a good.
Associate Jacobs, Associate Kelly, Associate Kimberlin,
Here, COD World War II, closely followed by Rock Band.
Associate Monanti,
Present and the first two Bayonetta games.
Associate Perk, Associate Scott Perez, Associate Simpson, Associate Justin,
Here and Just Dance 2015.
Associate Torstoxi,
Present, and it's gotta be Star Wars Battlefront, but the one from like 2004, or whatever that came out. Or the Republic, that's all I gotta say.
Go to. Go to.
Associate Zhao, Associate Wilson,
Here, Assassin's Creed Origins.
is there anyone here that I did not call that is present?
Chair Schuler. And my favorite game was Club Penguin back in the day, and then it became Halo, and then it became Destiny 2.
That is perfect.
Senator Melchior, Halo Combat Evolved.
That was great, everyone. I also appreciate the musical chairs that are going on right now. Very proud of all of you. We'll now go into consent agenda. Is there any dissent? Yes, Vice President Sandoval.
I would like to motion to have the SFRD delegate. It's already on there, never mind.
Would you like it put a certain place on the agenda?
Yes, thank you.
This wasn't coordinated, by the way, I promise.
Promise. I would also like to motion to have it be put on the very top.
A confidence business?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, is there, any?
Seconded.
Okay, so, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstentions? Okay, this motion passes.
Point of information, Mr. Speaker. Why is the BSOF rates fund bill 5223 crossed out?
Yeah, so I wrote that bill with President Long and Director Cook. And there were some issues with it that we just need to flesh out, so that'll take another week. It is a BSOP bill, so it only needs one reading. That can be passed next week. So that's why.
I will say for that, it does require BSOF to group to endorse it.
Which they have. Yeah.
Okay.
Any other dissent? Okay, seeing none, then we will move into gallery input. Is there anyone from the gallery who wishes to speak at this time? All right, Clyde.
Can everyone hear me? Yes. I'm just here for a short amount since you all have a busy night. But it's just next Thursday, there'll be a CCPD town hall, the second and last one again, from 4 to 6. It'll be here in the Senate chambers. It's a good opportunity to talk to CCPD. If you want to know any more information about it, contact me. I also have flyers. If you all want to pass it out to any of your clouds or organizations or anyone, and yeah. I yield and have a wonderful night, y'all.
Oh, I believe there was a question. Oh, okay.
Senator, you get to. Oh, you want the flyer? I can pass it. Okay. Pass it to you afterwards. Or just whatever.
All right, sorry. Give him a round of applause. Anyone else from the gallery wishing to speak? Senator Lowe.
Hi all. So before I start, I did want to give a quick content warning. I'm going to be talking about gender-based violence. So if anyone is triggered or uncomfortable with that, I will give that now. I'm going to do introductions and then kind of jump in really quick to when I'm talking. So hi, for those who don't know me, my name is Rory. I use they, them pronouns. This is my partner, Hunter Ridgway, and they are an alumni here from CSU. Their pronouns are also they, them. Usually I'm a lot more put together than I am tonight, but I wanted to talk tonight about how the rhetoric of this space can sometimes get to the point where it not only jeopardizes safety of members, but also safety of loved ones. So I know the last couple of months have been incredibly tense in this space, to say the least. And I want this to be a chance for us to really heal and reckon with how we talk to each other and how we talk about each other, because it might just feel like they're taking jabs at individuals or CPS versus college senators. It's easy to get stuck in this space and forget how it actually translates to our lives outside of this space. So because of some of the rhetoric happening, I have been dealing with harassment and stalking since about December. It's always correlated with when I was outspoken at ASCSU, and that honestly didn't really bother me all that much. And then in the month of March, things kind of exploded, and I was doxxed along with my partner. we have had to make an emergency move because starting the week of elections, after we were doxxed, someone, we don't know who, made deep fake nudes of one of my partner's family members, and that was sent to not only them, but their father and their uncle. We both have families, we both have younger siblings, we both have people we really care about, and like our rhetoric here matters, especially when a lot of people in power or people who have better access to spread these things are essentially accusing trans members of grooming. We have dealt with that threat to not only like us, but our loved ones and our family. We've dealt with actual like attempts of like following us and attempting to hit our car in the middle of the night. And I don't want to think about what could have happened with that. And we have had to move because both of our addresses again were doxxed and people were showing up to our home in the middle of the day and in the middle of the night. And like when you call people, like when you use rhetoric that essentially implies that somebody is grooming someone, like it's not just about the space, and it's put not only myself as a trans person in danger, but my loved ones and my family. And it's made me question like if I can even be an activist anymore. And I know that gender-based violence is all too common in ASCSU. I know that I am not the only person who's survived something like this, either from members or from like rhetoric spread in this chamber. And those aren't my stories to tell. But I know that my silence on this matter is not protecting me. It's not protecting my family. It's not protecting the people I care most about. And like, I hope that this can be a moment for us to realize that our words matter and our words can mean life or death for some of us. And that I should not have to be sitting up here shaking, afraid for my life because I'm advocating for people with disabilities and doing something I care about. I should not have to be going through this. My partner should not have to be going through this. Our family should not have to be going through this. Like personal beef should never like be used to escalate situations where lives are in danger. Like I haven't been sleeping for weeks until we were able to like find a safe place to live, and even then we're both still recovering from that, and I've had to delay my graduation. So like the rhetoric we use in this space matters, and the rhetoric we use in this space has the ability to put lives in serious danger. And so with that, I yield. Thank you.
Is there anyone else from the gallery who wishes to speak this time? Okay. Yeah. Should be on.
Hello, everyone. Again, my name is Hunter Ridgway from Missouri, and I second everything that Senator Wolf spoke of tonight. All of that is true. All of that has been our lives for the last number of months. So just vouching for that. I also have been joining on the live stream for the last handful of months since September, every single week, roll call through the end of the night. And I just wanted to point out a few things that I have noticed as a member of the public. I'm not associated with ASCSU directly. First thing is that the captions suck. They are largely unintelligible most of the time. And I know from personal experience that there are better captioning platforms that can be attached to Zoom, because the Zoom captions are notoriously subpar. So I am more than certain that the SDC or the folks in the assistive technology office would be more than happy to find a suitable alternative to that. Second thing, it has been a consistent pattern that folks who are sitting near the owl while members out here are speaking, are presenting, are sharing their thoughts and perspectives, they are being talked over, and whispers, soft comments happening very close to the owl, so that it cares more about what you are saying than what I care about hearing, which is what you all are saying out here. And so it wants to let you know that it is obvious, and people on the other side of the screen, if you will, can tell who is respected in this space, who is taken seriously, and who is given the same amount of space in this room. So just wanted to put that on your radar and ask for just better accessibility and, you know, respecting all of the people in the space, because currently does not adhere to that. So, thank you. I yield.
Is there anyone else from the gallery who wishes to speak at this time? Seeing none, we will move on to our guest.
My
speaker.
hand is raised.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Point of information, why is the live captioning not on at all right now? Thank you.
Is there anyone else from the gallery who wishes to speak at this time? Seeing none, now we'll move on to Pam Norris. And I'd also ask you to share what your favorite video game is, because I saw some of your responses back there, and I'm curious.
Well, I'm gonna be totally honest. So I'm Pamela Norris, she, her, and hers. Oh, I'm really old. I'm gonna go with Pac-Man. It like raises my heart rate every time. But I was sort of giggling because I have kids who are 21 and 17. So Club Penguin like brought back some real memories. Thanks all for your time tonight. And again, Pamela Norris. I work here in the Student Center. I serve as the associate exec. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Can everyone hear?
Yeah.
Okay,
Got it?
cool.
Okay. Associate Executive Director here in the Laurie Student Center, working specifically with engagement and talent management. So i.e. that translates to SLICE, campus activities, marketing, and our HR functions here in the building, including talent management. And I've worked here for 23 years. I've worked all 23 years with ASCSU. I can count on one hand how many times I have spoken on the floor of the Senate. So I'm glad we started with video games. Seemed like to take the little intimidation out of the space, and certainly with gallery input really indicates the seriousness of the role that ASCSU has in representing all and ensuring safe space. So it's a good segue into what I wanted to talk with you all about tonight. In my presentation that you all should have been sent, I wanted to try to implore the body to raise, like, to the next level, elevate hiring in ASCSU. And I wanted to share with you some of the work that many of us have been doing over the last several years with the incoming ASCSU administration as they start to interview and select cabinet members. And then that move that they have to make into the Senate chambers to be able to have their groups ratified. Largely in the past, and maybe some of you experienced this, it can be a relatively stressful experience. I know you all you're all humans and you're all kind and you all have and you're intimidating as a large group. And so there have been all kinds of ways in the past that we've tried to be really welcoming and grateful for people's interest in wanting to serve the student body. and what arguably is somewhat of a thankful or thankless experience sometimes. And so wanted to share with you the expectations that the Equal Opportunity Office has in terms of interviewing. I hope that what I'm going to share with you tonight too will also help you as you start your process in interviewing for internships or positions, and to give you a little bit of a back of the stage view of what some of the legal expectations are when hiring, but also some of the just general best practices are around it. So we'll walk through this presentation. So if you'll go to the third slide. There's also attachment in the presentation. It kind of looks like not very exciting Word document. This is the list of appropriate and inappropriate questions that every search here at CSU reviews and adheres to. And what you'll see kind of, again, reflected in this particular slide is the kinds of things on the left-hand side that cannot be considered in a hiring situation. So you'll recognize definitely protected classes, but you'll also recognize a few other things, like for instance, geographic location or ancestry, right? Where again, the hiring process should be really reflective of what are the qualifications that you're looking for in the job responsibilities, and have that reflected in a person's written materials and their presentations, their experience. But focusing on anything over here on the left is not only inappropriate, but also in most cases illegal. On the right-hand side, again, things that you can consider. On the next slide, I'm introducing a concept that I think is probably familiar with most of you, and that's around implicit bias. We all have it. Every single one of us. And we are conditioned over our lifetimes to have some level of bias in us. And I fight this every day in searches that I'm a part of. I serve a lot as an equal opportunity coordinator in many professional searches here on campus. And this tends to be an area that is really hard to suss out. So just to share with you a few, I don't know, different ways that bias can show up in interviews is there's something called an affinity bias. And an affinity bias is simply considering that you like someone better because they have an affinity with you. So Jess is from North Dakota. If I were from North Dakota, I might just simply have an affinity because we have something in common and we are alike in some way, and elevating her status in an interview process above anyone else simply because we have something in common. Confirmation bias is that tendency of people to favor information that confirms or strengthens their beliefs or views. So something comes up in an interview and you're like, I totally feel the same way about that social issue or that whatever that belief was. You start to align yourself because you feel like they fit, because they're a reflection of your beliefs or the way you were raised or the way you think about a particular issue. Versus, again, really concentrating on what are we asking this person to do, literally, skill-wise, job responsibility-wise, and do they have the skills necessary to do it? A couple of other biases that can show up, there's something called a halo effect, where if you say something at the beginning of an interview that turns someone off, that they might automatically stop giving you the benefit of the doubt throughout your whole interview. You could nail every single question, but they might have heard something at the beginning that they're just like, no, we're going to smile and nod our heads, but like, no. And the reverse can happen. You can nail a really important first interview question, and then they automatically are like, yes, that person's going to go through it, and not really be listening to the remainder of your answers. Certainly there is perception bias where you perceive someone based on, I don't know, how they're dressed or how they, what their accent might be or something like that, where you start to size up someone without having any actual information. Then of course, groupthink, and I know you all are probably really aware of that in this space of like, if the most popular person, the loudest person, the person with the most power in a space wants a certain person to be selected and you know it, it can start to feel like the whole group starts to want to go with that leader. And you've got to really be able to hold your own when it comes to making choices. The next couple of slides, just for your, hopefully your benefit, is what we have asked and have asked ASCSU incoming administration to consider when planning interviews of upcoming employee. So being aware of bias, I don't need to read this to you, but involving more than one person in interviews, having multiple perspectives, keeping accessibility in mind, and really leaning into job position descriptions. What are you specifically looking for in a person's qualities, in their skills, and how do we meet that? The next slide is conducting interviews. Again, hopefully this is really helpful for all of you. Creating a welcoming and inclusive environment. Again, for you all next week, like my expectation is that Rob and Elijah, Nick and Alex, right, folks along the way as they've been interviewing are creating a welcoming environment for people who are interviewing. I think that expectation falls to all of you as well, right? Like this part of the environment needs to feel welcoming and inclusive to the folks who have applied. Always keeping accessibility in mind. It's really best when conducting an interview to just simply ask the people that you are interviewing, do you have any accessibility needs? Instead of placing the responsibility on a person to have to ask for something, it's just better to ask up front. Then it feels like not that big of a deal. Documenting everything that you write about a person, actively listening. This last slide is the evaluation of an interview. Right? Evaluating. And I think, you know, we were just talking about this the other day around this concept of avoiding fit. I think you probably hear this a lot. Like, does this person fit into our group or into our staff? And sometimes that can mean the way they look, mean the way they dress. It could mean, do they have a sense of humor that we all get? It often means that a person wants you to be more like them. Like, do you fit in with me? And research shows time and time again that the most effective teams are ones that are diverse, that are different, that increase like a team of rivals in a way where people can disagree and walk away having built a better decision or a program or a service because of those differences. And ensuring confidentiality. Obviously not easy, super not easy. I think sometimes when it comes to like peers hiring peers kind of thing, but it's really important that you're able to maintain confidentiality and actually give people feedback when they're not selected for something. So oftentimes you might just hear someone say an email, right? Like, sorry, we had a really competitive group of applicants and you did not move forward. Well, why? There needs to be a really thoughtful answer on the why, and it's really important because we all need feedback in order to be better. And so as your willingness as a leader of an organization to say, yeah, I'm willing to give you some feedback. It might be hard, it might be difficult, but it's required. So on the very last slide, just to give you all a couple of other resources here. This slideshow is one that I just barely adapted from the Office of Equal Opportunity here on campus. Really cool reference is the second one. It's a behavioral question generator. I know this is going to sound a little strange. It comes from the state of Kansas. And it's, you can kind of type in a topic and it will generate a ton of different questions that you might be asked in an interview around that topic. So it's a great interview, like preparing kind of resource. And then there's an implicit bias infographic that the university uses that I thought you all might want to take a look at. So anyway, I wanted more than anything to let you know the expectations that we have communicated to the incoming administration. And when they present their folks next week for cabinet, I hope you can dial back into some of these resources, think a little bit of how maybe you felt when you were on the floor of the Senate being ratified, and yeah, just meet that maturity and professionalism expectation that I know all of us have in welcoming and really being grateful for the students who are willing to serve the student body like all of you. I want to make sure if there's any questions, I'm happy to take them and try to answer them.
Well, thank you, Pam. I appreciate it.
Your support.
Executive reports. Is there anyone from the executive branch who wishes to report? Director Vega.
Hello, everyone. My name is Reed Vega. I'm your Director of Traditions and Programs. And next Thursday, May 4th, the ASCSU Eyeball is happening, which is our award ceremony and our inauguration ceremony. And I expect each and every one of you to be there. We're gonna have a lot of food, we're gonna have a lot of fun, and there's gonna be a lot of music and a lot of decorations. So if you haven't RSVP'd already, please do that. If you haven't put in some song requests yet, please do that. It's all in your email inboxes, and I hope you're all there. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I just wanted to talk about the blood drive, which is happening next week, May 3rd, which is a Wednesday. It's not going to just be a blood drive. We're also going to have other activities related to health involved, including a table for Be the Match. So that's for like blood, bone marrow transplants and such. And Amber will be helping lead that. There will also be free HIV testing for individuals who don't want to give blood or for individuals who can't give blood. So that will be accessible in Elijah's office. Thank you, Elijah, for letting us use your office. There you are. So that's kind of the remaining of the projects for the year. We're hoping to do some more pregnancy and sexual health projects for next year. So if you're interested in helping and plan on being here next year, please reach out and talk to me because planning for that is happening like currently. In addition, cabinet applications are still open. They will be open through tomorrow night. So if anyone's considering or knows friends that are considering, please apply by tomorrow night. But yeah, any questions? Cool. I'll hand it off to Mr. Rod.
Alrighty, hello everyone. This is my last executive report. So I firstly just want to thank you all for the year. It's been quite the journey for me. I mean, right now we're in the Supreme Court Justice, the Chief Justice interviews right now. So we've got that going on. We're moving 3 candidates to the finalist phase right now. So we'll have to call a special session because this is technically the last session. So to get that done, we do need to, the Chief Justice does need to be chosen before the end of the 52nd. But I guess, you know, I guess I just want to say one thing. You know, ASCSU, there's really no, like, you know, I've talked to a bunch of people across the country, you know, from various student governments, and there's really no place like it. You know, there's hardly any student government that controls or oversees nearly $70 million. You know, we have a lot of power here. And I guess on my way out, you know, I've witnessed, you know, I've been here for 3 years, you know, I've witnessed various sides, very intense arguments. And I guess I just feel very, I just ask you all to keep that in mind. You know, we have a lot to lose here. We have a lot of power here. And I guess I just hope that y'all, you know, continue to carry the torch. Yeah, I have a lot of hope, you know. So thank you. It's been a pleasure being your ambassador this past year. Yeah, Mr. Speaker, I yield.
Information, some folks who are on Zoom are telling me that for them the captions are going in and out. So I was wondering if they look all good on your end. Parliamentarian Clark, like I got a message saying that they turned on and then turned off again.
Yeah, so Senator Lowe, it looks like it is active. I haven't seen the captions go up, but I'll be sure to make sure that doesn't happen. We can also turn them off and turn them back on too. Maybe that'll help, but yeah.
I think we can try that.
For sure.
All righty, judicial reports.
Hello.
There we go.
Perfect. My name is Marcus Zacharias. If y'all don't know me somehow, I use the he series of pronouns. I heard a lot of great answers for video games. I'm sad I didn't hear anyone say Rainbow Six Siege or Kingdom of Hearts. Really disappointed on that one, but it's okay. But to keep it serious, raise your hand if you want to make change in your local community this year. I see a lot of hands raised, so I really hope a lot of y'all come out to City Council on Tuesday when we talk about U+2. They've already got in contact with us to make sure that we're trying to do a little bit of a better job with student management. So we really want to encourage y'all to come out and speak on all the students that you represent for. How that would look like in a way is I would go up and be like, my name is Marcus Zacharias. I serve as the Chief Justice of the ASCSU. I'm here to represent the 34,000 students at CSU. Y'all could do that with the amount of college, not people in your college to represent, just to really stress the message to City Council that even though there's only 200 people that can fit into their tiny little office space, there's way more students that care about this issue than just those 200. With that, I follow along with Rob. This will be the last judicial report for this year. I just want to thank you all for an amazing year. Really challenged me and made me grow in a lot of different ways, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. And like Rob, I really hope to see you accomplish a lot of great things this year, and go Rams. With that, you.
Anyone else from the judicial branch? Seeing none, it is a tradition on the last session of the Senate that seniors give speeches while they're on their way out. And so if you're a senior and you'd like to give a speech, you're more than welcome to. Yeah. Senator Earl. Yeah, go ahead and raise your placards if you want to speak so we could go in order. Go ahead and put them down. I have Senator Hill, Senator Denson, Associate Barton, Speaker Pro Tempore, Senator McCall, Parliamentarian Clark, President Long, and then Chief Justice Zacharias. Did I miss anyone? Oh, Senator Lowe. Where were you on that list about?
I was like right towards the end.
Okay.
Not the moment.
All right. Anyone else I missed? I got it.
Go get.
Okay. Oh, Associate Kimberly. Okay. And we're also about to do something very special for all of you that I am very, very grateful that I get to do it. So, and without further ado, Senator Hill, start us off.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Hello, everyone. Man, it's been a very quick 4 years. Just happened like that. You know, I'm not one for long speeches, but I just want to say that, you know, being in this space, seeing so many different people come in and go and come and go has been very, you know, very impactful for me. You know, being able to be elected senator my freshman year for the College of UDMBS was felt like, man, felt like yesterday, but it was so long ago. You know, and everybody that I serve with are all different. Everyone that I've served with that year is all gone, and so just being able to see new generations of student government come and go and grow, and it's just been something that I've been a joy having, and you know, being able to be here for 4 years, whether it be senator, being the speaker, which was you know, as one would say, is the best of times and the worst of times.
Yeah.
So, you know, and you know, there have been a lot of failures that I've done and a lot of successes, but I look back on both, and I think that one of the best things that I can say, and something that taught me, is I learned as much, if not more, from my failures than I do from my successes. And you know, and that is something that I learned very deeply here in ASCSU, and I hope that everyone who leaves or graduates, whatever, can take that with them, because you know, the world can get you down sometimes, but it's always good to stand back up and, you know, take on the challenge. So yeah, it's been very, very much a privilege to be serving with y'all, whether, you know, being in the space, and everyone is so brave being here. You know, it's not the most, you know, it's not the easiest place to be in, but you know, really, y'all do really good work. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator Hill, and I apologize for this. If you do want to come up to the front while you give your speech so the body can see you, you can do that. I'll ask Senator Hill to please come up right now. One of the things you get for being in ASCSU is a stole that you get to wear at graduation. It's my honor to present Senator Hill with his stole.
First day of school. Thank you.
Next, we have Senator Dinson.
All right, is this working? Do 1, 2. Yeah. Oh, there it goes. There it goes. All right, 1, 2, let's go.
Yeah,
cool, awesome. All right, yeah. So I've never been in this space before. It's my first year being in the space center for college business. Up to the past 3 years of my college career, I never did anything at all. Sat home, went to class, went back home, never got involved in campus at all. So this year I really took it upon myself to get involved and do something that mattered. And I'd like to thank this space for providing me that opportunity. I'd like to thank Noah Burge, the president now for the College Business Council for basically putting me in this position, encouraging me to go for it. I'd like to thank my other college business senators. I'd like to thank Faraz. You were one of the first people I met when I came into this space, so I'd like to thank you for that. Thank you, buddy. And then I'd also like to thank Nick, Rob. You guys have been great to me. David Wise and BSOP, how much you're great. Jillian, Director of Finance, obviously. Grace for the elections manager, and then also my chair, Sammy Trout. Big thanks to him. Yeah, this space giving me the opportunity to become well known in my classes and really be able to speak about something that people care about and inform people on a lot of stuff they didn't know. So I'd like to thank you for that.
Mr. Vincent, it's my honor to present you with your soul. Associate Barton.
Now, I don't have too much to say, but I do want to say one of the biggest takeaways that I've ever gotten from ASCSU. And I think it's something that everyone in this space could benefit from. Like growing up, I grew up in a pretty, environment where everyone was kind of saying they grew up the same way, they grew up the same lifestyle. And one thing this space has really taught me is to be able to listen to other people, to be able to see other perspectives. There's so many different perspectives on life that I feel like most people don't really take into effect because, we may have not grown up with living under these conditions or living in this area or living with these certain things. I think one thing that's really taught me is just being able to listen to other people and be able to see what other people are doing with their time, with their lives. And I'm much like Senator Dinson. I didn't get involved as much first 3 years of college, and I heavily regret that. And I wish I would have, because this Senate space, a lot of times I feel like I'm most time just like sitting back and just like really evaluating the vibes and seeing how it is with everyone kind of having their conversations with the topics they want to go on. And it's really taught me a lot about just sitting back. I've always been a very vocal, extrovert person, sitting back, just taking in what people have to say. And I think that's something that everyone can garner from this, is not just making immediate judgments and taking in, what everyone, like respecting everyone's feelings and respecting where everyone's coming from. So that's the one thing I really want to talk about. And I hope everyone else can agree with me when they say that they've gotten more experience with seeing the other perspective of what may not be true to ourselves. So thank you. I yield.
Thank you, Associate Barton, and it's my honor to present you with your story. Speaker Pro Tem for
Howdy, y'all. I have had the great pleasure of being in this space for the last 3 years. And I've held various different roles in this space. I was a senator for Centro for 2 sessions, and then I was a speaker pro tempore. And this space taught me patience, a lot of patience, and being able to listen to others despite what their views might be and if they differ from mine. One of the biggest takeaways that I have here is being able to be a resource to everyone. I genuinely hope that every single one of you has felt that I treated you with kindness and respect, and that you were always able to talk to me, regardless of where you sat, regardless of what year you were, regardless of what college or office you represent. And it's something I've prided myself in, being open to anyone and everyone. So thank you. Hopefully I have a job interview hopefully I do have a job. I have a job interview next week, which might allow me to stay up here and I can see some of your beautiful faces a lot more often. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I yield.
I'd like to thank my speaker pro tempore, Cadacero Perez. This is a very difficult job and you need someone strong right by your side. And she has been a rock in this process. And my success was her success, which is the body's success. And so I can't thank her enough. And it is my deep, deep honor to present her with her stole.
I got mine embroidered.
Maybe not, maybe not. Maybe more shake hands, yeah. There we go.
All right, Senator McCall.
Hi, everyone. I've also been, so sorry. I love this space a lot. And I think that, like, I'm so sentimental. I'm like such an emotional person to like pretend this isn't happening again. But, like, this space has always provided me my community when I needed it the most, you know? Our class, or those of us who like started in 2019 were, but like we started our freshman year with COVID, basically, like it was cut short. And whenever needed it the most, we were always here. And I think like this space can be so divided a lot of times that like we're all gonna move on. And one of the only things we're gonna have in common is like went to CSU and we were in ASCSU together. And despite like everything that happens in here, like all these connections that we've made are really important. And I like have a lot to thank this space for that. I don't like really know where I'd be without ASCSU, so thanks.
Senator McCall, it is my honor to present you with your stole. Senator Lowe.
So when my first interaction I ever had with ASCSU was not actually in the Senate, it was the 51st Senate. And I was with a group of activists and people I really cared about. And that night was really, really hard. And I said that I would never come back here. And yet here I am. What brought me into this space was activism and really wanting to see this space change campus for disabled people. And so Ariadne, I've known her for a year before this. She talked me into signing up. And then at the last minute, she's like, by the way, you're being sworn in as a senator and not an associate. So I was like, cool, here we go, which I know Chair Salazar was in a similar position with Pride. And we were both drawn here for activism. And this year I've gotten to make such amazing connections. And so I want to take a minute to thank those people. First, I want to say thank you to the campus group that's forming, that's creating community for people with invisible disabilities. I believe they're the People with Invisible Disabilities Union. I have gotten to interact with them a couple of times. And I want to say thank you for their activism and giving that space that has been one of the most powerful spaces I've ever gotten to be a part of. Disability community is really
there because we are always like confined from each other. It's so hard to find it. And so having that and being able to be in a role where I could, you know, uplift what they were doing and also be, you know, like a representative for them was something I'm really grateful I got the ability to do. So thank you. I also really want to say thank you to Director Justin Dove and our Assistant Director Joe Tyner. They have been some of the most amazing people I've ever met and feel blessed to have been mentored by them. They have amplified my disability advocacy in ways I never even expected. Like I came into ASCSU wanting to do advocacy for people who are immunocompromised during the pandemic, and I ended up doing amazing advocacy for transportation and people with mobility aids. And like this wheelchair is new. Like I have walked through most of my life not being visibly disabled, and so to be in a spot where I am suddenly visibly disabled and also being able to have such an intersectional influence on disability advocacy in not only at CSU, but also in the Fort Collins community. Like I've been included in advocacy for dial-a-ride and making that more inclusive for trans people. I've been included in advocacy for the permanent like disabilities transportation. I've been included in so much advocacy work and meetings that I wouldn't have gotten a chance to have a voice in otherwise, and to show up and say, no, disabilities are a really big intersection. It's not just all cisgender heterosexual white people. And I've also gotten to learn in such amazing ways from both Joe and Justin, and I am so grateful for them, and I am so proud to be a part of the work that the SDC does. I think before I joined the SDC, it's easy to feel like lost on this campus, but when I tell you that Justin Dove is one of the kindest people I have ever met, and Joe Tyner is one of the kindest people I've ever met, even if you feel like they won't listen to you, please just reach out to them and email them, because even if they can't do anything for legal compliance, they will at least listen to you. And I wish so much to see that the SDC gets more funding and more pro staff, because it's desperately needed. And I think that like this space can do a lot to support all of the growing community on campus. And I'm so, so grateful that I've gotten to be a part of the SDC for this last year. So thank you.
Senator Lowe, it's my honor to present you with your stole. Parliamentarian fund.
Thanks, well, this is tough. I didn't know that this was happening this week. So I don't have anything prepared. Although I keep thinking back to when this day would come, when I would have to say goodbye for a final time. Looks like it's probably now. I'd love to speak a little bit more next week about my role and the importance of it, and the importance of having somebody as a parliamentarian at the beginning of this year once the 53rd Senate comes in. But I just want to take this time right now to just say how thankful I am for the space. Like for many of you all, ASCSU has been my community too. And it can be really difficult sometimes, but it's still home, and I feel an unconditional attraction to it. And, you know, I started here 4 years ago with Ava and Kyle, actually, when we joined as senators back in 2019. And I've worn a lot of different hats in the space. As a senator for the College of Liberal Arts, spent a lot of nights with LADLC trying to figure out how we could reach out more to our CLA community. And then as a vice chair for the University Affairs Committee, and had a lot of fun looking over some really great bills with the 49th Senate. But as parliamentarian, it's really been one of the most fulfilling jobs of my life. Thank you for entrusting me with this legislative process that we all hold so dear. It really is a unique and a powerful thing that students are able to advocate for themselves and have this level of autonomy at the collegiate setting. It is incredible the things that we do year to year. And I've been proud of a lot of the things that I've done here in this space, and I've also made a lot of mistakes too. And I have hit my highest highs here in these chambers and my lowest lows. And it can be really difficult sometimes, but I think the biggest takeaway is that this space is really a channel for growth, for learning how to be a better public servant, for learning how to be a better friend and an advocate. And yeah, I just have endless gratitude for the space, for allowing me to grow and be a better human being. So thank you, Mr. Speaker. And there are so many people that I have to thank, so many. You'll never know how much you've impacted me. It has been a complete joy being able to look at all of the amazing things that you all have done, formatting your docs files in the middle of the night and sending them out to the front desk a few minutes before the weekly email gets sent out. Jess and Jesse, thank you for always listening to my rambling and to all my crazy ideas with the Slack channels and the website overhauls. I really care about digital accessibility in this space, and I know that we aren't perfect about it. We definitely have a lot more work to do, but we were confronted with a very unique situation in the pandemic, and we had to make transitions over to Zoom and over to completely digital. And I feel like when we were in that completely digital space, we had a lot of lessons that we learned about digital accessibility that didn't entirely translate over when we moved back into a hybrid setting. And so I would love to see that happen more in this space. Just wanted to note that real quick, but thank you, everyone. Thank you.
I have to express my gratitude to Parliamentarian Clark. The position of parliamentarian isn't the most attractive or sought after position by any means, but make no mistake, they are the backbone of the work that this body gets done. Nothing would be accomplished without the parliamentarian, because all bills that need to be signed, the middle person is the parliamentarian. And Kevin has done a bang up job, and he's really going to be missed, and there are big shoes to fill for whoever the next parliamentarian is. So with that being said, Parliamentarian Clark, it is my great honor to present you with your stole. President Long.
Yeah, I guess, like, hearing everyone speak, you just really reflect. And, I've been here for 3 years now. I started off in BSOF. Ali is the advisor. And then I started out, and then I became a senator for the College of Business. Just you really reflect on, the people who have touched you, just all the people you've talked to and hearing, like, again, I just want to stress that, we have something really important here. I've talked to a bunch of student governments across the country, and there's nothing like this. So I guess, one, I just want to stress on the work that we have here, and just hold it dear to your hearts. I guess the next thing I'll just leave with you all. I think the best leaders know how to navigate 3 things. What the students need, what the students want, and the reality of the economic and the political, I guess, stability of ASCSU. Because I think a lot of people get caught up in one of those 3 things, but they don't understand all 3 of those things. So I guess just leaving you all with that, just navigate those 3 things very well. And, I think that, y'all can continue the great work that we have here. And then I guess one other thing, ASCSU has a lot of potential here, has a lot of potential to do good, has a lot of potential to do some pretty fucked up things sometimes. But I think this place needs kindness. I'm not necessarily the kindest individual, but I think it needs kindness in the future. I've spent more time than I'd like to admit in, this room, and in the office, and, it kind of just gets to your head sometimes, just like, oh, ASCSU, it's like, the student organization, it represents the students. But I think it just needs kindness. It's not about politicking. It's not about, seeking, oh, well, if I get these 3 senators to vote for my bill, then, oh, it'll pass the Senate. It's not necessarily about that. I mean, I thought like that many times, but it's more about sending the message and being transparent to, the Senate, and being transparent to, your committees, and basically saying that this is my message, how can we make it better, rather than politicking and devolving into like saying, oh, well, if I talk to this individual, if I talk to this individual, then it'll pass. So I guess just being more transparent on that end to like committees and just groups as a whole. And like Kevin said, I have many individuals to thank over the years, too many to count. I guess thank you to the advisors. Thank you, Pam. Thank you, Ali. Thank you, Jess. Thank you, Jesse. It's been quite the ride for me. So yeah, I thank you. Thank you, Speaker DeSalvo. Yeah, thank you all. Thank you.
There are a lot of things that go on behind the scenes as branch leaders, and it's oftentimes confidential, and the only people that know about it are the branch leaders. There are many, many cliffs that I have walked President Long off of, and there are many cliffs that President Long has walked me down from, essentially. And I really appreciate the time that we've been able to spend together, and it really doesn't hit you the power of what you're doing until you're walking up to the administration meeting, and you're walking up the stairs of that building, and you're realizing that you are the liaison to 33,000 students, and you're representing the student's voice in front of administration. And oftentimes, for many of those folks that are at the top, we are some of the only students that they consistently interact with. And so just grasping the power of what we're doing, it can sometimes weigh on you. And Rob has been quite the rock for me, and I would hope he'd say the same for me. So with that being said, it is my great honor and privilege to present President Long with his skull. Chief Justice Zacharias.
This might be the longest y'all hear me talk up here. I'd love to try to keep it brief for you because I know you have a lot of important work to get done. There's just some things you have to get done first. First off, I want to have a small list of thank yous to people. Then I'll leave you with a message, and I'll finish off with a final thank you. I want to start my thank yous with the Judicial Court, all the members throughout the years, whether that be Aaron, Gemma, Todd from my first year last year. Amazing members there, and all the members of this court that I was able to bring in, Amber Wright, Isaiah Dennings, Chandler Dalton, Kelly Duggan, Elena Truxell, and Jamie Binder. Y'all really made this year a very amazing experience for me, and I wouldn't have changed a single thing about it. Beyond that, I want to thank the friends that I've made into this space. I want to thank Kim, Grace Crandall, and Jorge. Y'all really provided me a home at the time that I was needed, and I really thank y'all for that. I want to thank all the advisors that I've come in contact with, Jess, Jesse, Pamela, Ali, Craig Chesson, all of y'all have done an amazing job, and I really lean on y'all for support in all the times. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for seeing all the growth that's come in me over the last 2 years and helping me facilitate that. I also want to thank Nick and Rob. This has been a great year together. We've had our ups and downs, but I'm glad to be finishing it out with y'all, and proud of all the things that we've gotten done this year. With that, the message I want to leave y'all with today is to give yourself and to give the others around you grace. There's often times in this space that we challenge people that differ from us, that we assign them with negative values, that we say that we're not going to interact with them off of mistakes and actions done in this space. And I just want to tell y'all to give them grace and to give yourself grace. You've heard from the leaders and the seniors that are graduating this year that we come in at different times. There's people that came into the space at 18 years old. There's people that come into the space as adult learners. There's people that come into the space with a whole bunch of different lived experiences. And with that, you have to meet people where they are and give them grace and allow them to grow. Because I've seen growth in every single one of y'all in this space. And you just have to allow yourselves to see the growth in others and the growth in yourself, despite what this space tells you. With that, I have my final thank you for my partner, Alejandra. You've been an amazing partner this entire year. And I just want to thank y'all for giving me the opportunity to meet her and then they're an amazing, beautiful person that challenges me every single day. And I'm just so thankful for y'all and them. So.
As branch leaders, we spend extensive time with one another in conversations that are largely confidential, but most of the time. And I will say that Marcus is the paradigm for what a Chief Justice should be: fair, equitable, and confidential. You can't get anything out of this man, and that's how it should be. It's been a real pleasure serving with you. And I'm excited to see what you'll go on to do. Hopefully I don't see an article that leads with Florida Man and it's about Marcus. And so with that, I'm going to give Kim the honor of presenting you with your stole. Associate Kimberly.
Howdy. It's been fun. It's been great. I haven't been here for too long, but I've met a lot of great people in this space. I was kind of the same way. Like, I was not very active in school at all. Well, I was active in my classes, but not like on campus. And then one day I was in a class with Nick, and he was like, "Hey, have you ever heard of ASCSU? So you should join." I was like, "Cool," and here we are. But thank y'all for everything. Met a lot of good people, had a lot of good friends. And yeah, go Rams. Oh, good luck next year.
He doesn't seem too mad that I dragged him into this. So with that being said, it's my honor to present you with your stole, Clay. Is there anyone that we missed that wants to speak? Well, seeing none, I think Officer Bukhari had something to say.
Howdy y'all, I'm Faraz. I'm the recruitment and retention officer, so this is my little plug at the end. If you'd like one of these stoles and you're a junior right now, you could get one next year if you're a senior. So come back next year and you can get one. And it'll be presented by our new speaker, Ava
Hey, all.
Hey, y'all. Yeah. So come next year. Oh, yeah.
I graduate in December. Can I still have one?
Yeah.
It will be arranged. Okay, but I do. Thank you.
Thank you to all our seniors. A lot of you have put some tireless work into this organization, and it largely goes without thanks. And so if you haven't heard it before or tonight, I just want to say thank you. This organization can suck the life out of you at times, but you have all emerged from it unscathed, hopefully, and as a more developed person. And so thank you for your service in this organization. I really appreciate it. With that, we'll move into confidence business. Will the parliamentarian please put 2 hours on the confidence clock? Vice President Sandoval.
Sure.
And then the parliamentarian will read the bill in abstract.
This is Bill 5224, approval of the fiscal year 2024 total student fee package. Abstract, this bill is to approve the FY24 Student Fee Review Board SFRB final total student fee package in accordance with the SFRB bylaws and the Associated Students of Colorado State University, ASCSU Constitution.
All right, so before we get into that, I'm gonna say a little something because I didn't want to come up here and speak like 3 times. I only want to come up here and speak once. I am not graduating this year. I'm graduating next year. However, I have put other people before myself for so long that I've decided that I'm not coming back next year. And you're making me emotional. I am so happy and so grateful for the experience that I've had here, for the growth that I've had here, for the people that I've met, for the people who hold me accountable, because let's be honest, September wasn't great. And I'm very happy that I found people who are able to hold me accountable and tell me, hey, you messed up, that wasn't right, you need to fix it. I'm also planning a wedding, so yeah.
Woo!
So my time is gonna be pretty tied up, but more importantly, I'm choosing myself and I'm choosing to take care of myself. And I'm taking what Marcus said about giving us grace and allowing us to have grace, and I'm giving myself grace. So thank you everyone for everything that you have done. And I'm so grateful to be a part of this organization and to have been part of this organization. And I might have to talk to Jess to allow me to wear the stole, even though I'm not going to be part of the organization my senior year, but that's another conversation. So that's it. Now let's get into the non-emotional stuff.
You get applause before you.
I think, can we all just take like a collective deep breath? Because that was really heavy stuff. Is that, can we do that, Mr. Speaker? Would you mind leading us in that?
I'm not the most zen person, but sure. I am worthy. So we'll do, I guess we'll do a deep breath in through our nose and a deep breath out through our mouth. Alrighty, so we'll do it on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, just so we're clear.
No.
1, 2, 3. That was the practice round. Let's do it again. 1, 2, 3. All right, Vice President Sandoval.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. All right, real quick, I would like to make some edits to one of the hereby, or the therefore, yes, I can read. The therefore clauses, if you scroll all the way down. This one right here. So the WGAC, the increase is not a $12 increase. It totals $12. That was by mistake. So that needs to be changed to $6.27. And then UCA, this the sub bullet point at the very end, you see that there's a dollar sign that needs to be changed to a percent sign. And then I need to change some numbers in the PowerPoint.
Oh, in the PowerPoint? Okay, other than that, that's it.
Yes, that's it for that document.
Do you want me to switch over to PowerPoint?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do a PowerPoint.
Okay, sure.
Point of personal privilege, I don't really know, the E in slice was just deleted in the legislative document.
It's slick now.
There's no more engagement. It's just community.
Let's go.
So that number, the second, the 15 needs to be changed to a 13. Yeah, okay, now we can get started. So, I will go over this presentation. Hopefully this will answer some of your questions. I did receive some emails referring to asking questions about the ASCSU email. Today has just been really hectic and I haven't had a chance to answer back, so I'm very sorry about that, but hopefully this will be able to answer your questions. And then if you have any additional questions, I'd be happy to answer that too. All right, so Student Fee Review Board Total Fee Package presented by me, Elijah Sandoval, Vice President. So SFRB shall provide efficiency, equality, and consistency in student fee reviews. The SFRB shall serve as a liaison between the student body and the university admission in determining the needs of the students and the levels and types of service they desire for their fees. So the areas that are not asking for a fee increase are the areas that follows: ALDS, athletics, SDC, student legal services, student resolution center, university alternative transportation fee, university facility fee, and the university technology fee. So what that means, areas with no fee increase, is those fees will stay the same as they are now. All right, so moving on to the areas that have asked for an increase or a decrease. First one is the Associated Students of Colorado State University, ASCSU. ASCSU asked for a 15% increase, totaling $3.67. One of the questions that I received about this one is what prompted SFRB to agree to such an increase. I really can't answer those, like I can answer the questions, but questions in regarding the budget itself, I will refer to Speaker DeSalvo or Vice President-elect Silverhart. But essentially they came to us, they made a presentation and said, even with the fee increase, we are still having to decrease some funding in areas. This is because the administration before mine, Christian Dixon, went into the fund balance, which is essentially a savings account of such of monies that have already been dedicated to other areas, and spent down the fund balance quite a bit. My administration, I will admit, we also kind of messed up the budget as well, and those numbers didn't add up. Therefore, the fund balance got spent down, and it's not that we ended up in the negative, but if they did not ask for a fee increase, ASCSU would end up in the negative and would not be able to support and sponsor all the things that we support and sponsor.
So is there any additional questions about that area? Cool. All right, the second is the Student Recreation Center. They asked for a $3.30 increase, totaling 4.13%. Again, they just came to us and said that they wanted to make renovations, update some things, but they did not have the funding for it, so that's the increase. The Career Center asked for a $1.16 increase, totaling 3.32%. Same thing, this was a mandatory increase, and what that means is that they were asking for the increase so they would be able to give their staff their annual raises. And again, just kind of going forward, a majority of these will be mandatory, and that's what that means. So not taking up too much of y'all's time. All right, CSU Health Network, the counseling services. This one is kind of interesting. So for this one, they asked for a $2 increase, totaling 3.64%. However, if we look at the next slide, you will see that the medical part of the CSU Health Network asked for a decrease. Essentially, what they are doing is they are reallocating those $2 from medical over to the counseling services. With medical, they are finding that they are able to charge insurances. I don't know how the whole insurance thing works, but they're able to negotiate with insurances. So therefore, they're not needing an increase. They were asking for a decrease, and instead having those $2 go over to the counseling side to help pay for more counselors. Hope that makes sense, because it was very confusing to us when we came to it. All right, so interpersonal violence response and safety. This is part of WGAC. This one, WGAC actually came to us 3 different times, which is the most I've, in my time in SFRB, I've ever seen a fee area come maybe once. Like they come once, maybe they come twice to answer additional questions. But WGAC came 3 different times because we as a board felt that they needed more funding. They have one counselor who specializes in relationship trauma, and I can't remember exactly, maybe you might be able to help me, but I can't remember exactly what that counselor is called that specializes in relationship trauma.
The whole thing is that because of all the transitions that we have been going through, we have one counselor that is certified as confidential. So if we lose that counselor, we lose the ability to like run our hotline and provide those essential services that we're there for.
Thank you. So this increase allows WGAC to add, I believe, 2 additional counselors, so a total of 3, plus a community marketing director position to.
Just to correct, a program coordinator.
Thank you. Program coordinator, that's, yes, a program coordinator into their office, so they would be able to expand their services. Sorry, that one is a $6.27 increase, totaling 109% increase, which I know sounds like a big number, but that's just from the increased percentage from the original fee. Laurie Student Center asked for an increase as well, both mandatory and preferred. This is the preferred. With this increase, they will be able to add composting into the LSC, which we were also really excited to hear about. So that is an $8.90 increase, totaling 6.7%. RAM events asked for preferred increase as well over mandatory, and they asked for a 42% increase, or 42 cents increase, totaling 4.27%. And there is a couple more, there's like one more, I believe, 2 more. Off-campus life also, Off-campus life also asked for an increase of $1.10. equaling 8.15%. University Center of the Arts asked for a 74-cent increase totaling 4.9%. And lastly, Slice asked for a $1.56 increase totaling 7.89%. Now, this next slide with all the numbers, it's going to look really, really big, but this is the total amount of student fees students are paying based on a 15 credit bill. If you take more classes than that, then that bill will reflect. If you take less, it'll change as well. So total is about a $27 increase, $27.12 increase, totaling a percentage of 2.4 or 2.04%. And that is it. Can I answer any questions or anything like that?
Senator Lackey.
Thank you so much for being here. So my first question is, why did you didn't mention the Career Center, why you gave them that 8% increase?
So the Career Center was also mandatory.
Is it mandatory like 3.3% or is that extra 5% or 4%?
So the Career Center was 3.32%. So that was the mandatory.
Perfect, thank you. And then, so you mentioned for the WGAC doing them at like 102% increase. So with just like, let's say we had 36,000 students, that $6.20, I think it was 9-cent increase, comes out to about $450,000 in student fees. You say that you're going to do that for 3 extra positions. That's paying each one of those positions $150,000. I don't think anybody gets, I mean, do people get, I mean, what was their projected to pay a counselor? Because when I remember sitting on the board, I'm pretty sure they did not pay their counselors $150,000 a year.
Yeah, let me pull up that as well.
Point of clarification, speaker, we decided, I'm also on the student fee review board. We decided to increase the Women and Gender Advocacy Center budget by so much because we wanted them to increase their professional staff by not only student volunteers and paid students, but also to get more professionals into that space. We wanted to pay them an equitable amount so that we can keep professional staff on board. Right now, the payment or the salary for each professional staff is very low. And so it is a very quick turnover. And so we are trying to retain as many professional staff as we can. And so we thought that it would be the best decision to increase their budget to help out with salary and to also accommodate for any professional education that they may saw out, so that can cover travel, that will cover any hotel and spendables in that educational endeavor that they choose to do for professional staff and for student volunteers. So it was a collective board decision that we felt like the Women and Gender Advocacy should be receiving more for how much they do for our students. And One of the positions that I did not mention was professional staff, and we are trying to get trauma awareness into that space and more people that are suitable for speaking about different types of trauma. I yield.
And then, sorry, real quick, Sammy, I yield to Senator Trout as well.
Senator,
I'm sorry, Chair.
thank you. Anyway,
That's correct.
so just to kind of add on to that conversation as well, when we had the initial conversation with the WGAC, when we asked them, like, the mandatory and preferred, we asked if this would be something that they, after hearing all the, underfunding that they've experienced, understaffing problems, etc., if the preferred would solve those. And they said even with preferred, it wouldn't be enough the funding to really get the center to be back up. And when we had the conversation regarding the counselors, we asked them whether if they had to choose between, because they're like preferred to get everything funded would have been like a $20-something increase, something like that. It would have been a massive increase, and that's something that everyone in the room acknowledged wasn't going to happen. But we asked them in response to the counselors if they would prefer to have their one counselor be paid like the standard rate of what it is in state of Colorado, or to up that funding a little bit and then have enough funding for a second counselor. And they said have a second counselor. And so that's why that funding is allocated towards 2 counselors and not just one. Also, I apologize if I'm like sounding really groggy. This cold has been dragging me through the mud and I've been losing this fight. But I can clarify any further if you need me to. But that was kind of the reason why we chose specifically for 2 counselors rather than just one. And I yield back to Vice President Sandoval.
So I'm confused now. You said they were hiring 3 additional counselors, is that still correct?
So they are hiring 2 additional for a total of 3.
Okay, so my question, I totally get that WAJC is very, very important. I sat on the board last year and we like literally told them to increase their funding. Vice President Sandoval was there because they weren't going to ask for an increase, they needed one. My concern is, okay, we're adding 2 positions, now we have 400, but we're not paying these people $200,000 a year to be counselors. Their services are very important, but no, right? So my question is, where is that money going? Because it's $450,000. It's not going to just 2 counselors. I mean, unless someone can tell me that it is. I just don't know.
So I have a point of clarification that I've been trying to get up for a while. I think, is that me? Someone's getting a phone call. Who is that? Okay, wonderful. So within the SDPS realm, the problem exists of funding being equitable. So let's take El Centro and BAC, for example. The director of BAC, Dwayne, has the probability of interacting with every single Black and African American student during their 4 years of school. The director of El Centro has no chance to do that in the world because of the students that they represent and have to attend to. The Women and Gender Advocacy Center would then represent all of the female identifying students. Or just, it's the Female and Gender Advocacy Center. So it addresses all students, different in a way that the rest of the student diversity programs and services do. So making it equitable for their funding, and a big part of that is programming. So let's take El Centro again, for example. They get $10,000 a year for programming. That money is able to be spread over less than it would for the Black and African American Cultural Center because they have less students to address. Does that kind of answer your question in regards to what programming is and how that's going to?
My question is really more about the monetary aspect of if we're increasing programming, that totally answers my question. If that's what you're saying, Vice President Sandoval. But if we're simply adding 2 positions, we can't be paying them, we're not paying them $200,000 a year. That's not really possible. I mean, unless we're hiring completely, I mean, I don't know if, I feel like sitting through these, is that what, I mean, we have, it says for me, that there's budget sheets that tell you where the money's going. Are they putting it towards extra projects? Cause that's great. Or are they putting it towards two-person salaries?
Yeah, so, as you said, like we have the budget sheets. Also, every fee area is required to send us a budget cover sheet. Essentially what that is it's an overview of what the projected amount of students who are, projected amount of enrolled students for the next fiscal year, along with some fiscal notes. I have it pulled up here. It says funding priorities related to strategic goals. One, add one new position at 75,000 for an embedded counselor to assist with the increased workload and support of student programs. This was presented in the fall and the students seem to be encouraged by this addition. Two, add one new position at 52K for program coordinator to shore up and expand the educational programming offered by WGAC and support media responsibilities for the entire WGAC office. Three, add second embedded counselor position at a 75K to assist with increased workload. Increase minimum wage and amount of hours for student employees to assist with increased workload and support of student programs. Increase salaries of existing staff to more competitive levels based on HR composition analysis. We are still below, compensation. We are still below compensation analysis, but the increase will help with the current staff retention and future hiring. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, of course.
And then last thing, I still have time, Mr. Speaker. I don't think I probably.
I highly doubt that
Yeah.
you still have time, yeah. Senator Taylor.
I know my time. You touched on my questions.
Thank you. Senator Doyle.
Was there any division coming up with any of these numbers that you listed?
So to answer your question, I did not come up with these numbers. These numbers were presented to us by the fee directors. We had discussions, the only division, and it wasn't even a division, it was more of a, we want to see more, was with WGAC. As I said, they had presented to us 3 different times with 3 different budget sheets because we wanted to see more from them because their services are so invaluable. There was no division. Everyone seemed to be on the same page. Everyone asked questions. Everyone got their questions answered. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
So you would say that there was healthy discourse and everyone eventually came to an agreement?
Very healthy, and yes.
Okay. And did any student constituents be called, or any constituents of CSU be called to provide input into any of the funding areas? I can clarify it.
Yes, please. Sorry.
So did you ask any students, do you think that this would be useful or important to be included?
Yes. So actually, thank you for bringing that up. One of the other things that we did was we had the student fee survey, and that was a survey that was sent out in March to 1,500 students randomly selected by institutional research. I sent those out through my email along with 3 reminders. I also learned that if you try and send out emails that are above 500, your email will just get shut down because the school thinks you're sending spam. So that was fun to learn. But what this survey said, and I can also pull that up as well. I did not share this survey with you all. I can in the next weekly email so you can see the results. But essentially what the survey asked was sorry, let me just kind of pull it up here. Okay, so the student, when you logged into the survey, you got a link. When you clicked on this link, you were taken to the survey. The questions were in alphabetical order for the fee areas. And the first question, for example, was adult learner and veteran services. The first question essentially was, how many times have you used ALVS services? never used it, once or a few times, many times. If the student clicked never used, the student would be then directed to the next question. However, if the student clicked used once or a few times or many times, then the student would be directed to a second question that then asked, okay, you use the service, rate your satisfaction on the service. Very satisfied, satisfied, not satisfied, or cannot answer. There is also an area where the student can type out a comment about their experiences with each of the different fee areas. And then so that went through all of the fee areas. Then at the very end, there were a couple questions. So I'm just scrolling through here so I can get those questions right. There were a couple questions about, at the time they were hypothetical fees because at the time nothing was voted on, nothing was like set in stone. But for example, the first hypothetical was LSC composting fee increase. So that said, how would you support a fee increase? If so, how much? The answers were no increase at all, 50 cents increase per semester, $1 increase per semester, or $2+ increases. Those questions were asked for LSC composting, Rams Against Hunger, the counseling services, WGAC, and WGAC. So we did survey the students. We did see how the students used the areas. However, because the survey was administered so late in the semester in the academic year, the directors are going to have to use the data from the survey for next academic year and their decision-making going forward.
Thank you very much. As the role of Senate in this process is simply to verify that we have total confidence in SFRB's ability to have made these decisions, and the fact that, what was I going to say? Our only goal is to verify that we have total confidence in SFRB and that SFRB has followed all their bylaws. I suggest that I motion that we move to the previous question, as it is clear that SFRB has followed all their guidelines and has made adequate effort to talk to students about their opinions, and yeah, their processes were followed.
There's been a motion, it's been seconded, so all those in favor of, what was your motion, to exhaust the speakers list?
Previous question.
Motion to previous question.
Skip it all real
Okay.
quick. So could I so kindly ask you to just exhaust the speakers list? I do have a few points I'd like to bring up.
There is no reason to continue asking questions because SFRB has been at this for a year. They know more about what needs to be changed because they have spent an entire year researching this. The only thing that we're supposed to do in the Senate is verify that they have followed their processes. And I feel like the line of questions that I asked adequately determined whether or not that they have followed their processes, and any further questioning is just a waste of time.
I do understand that, Senator Doyle, but with all due respect, increasing student fees makes college less.
There is no discussion. The motion is seconded.
Okay.
So all those in favor of motioning to previous question, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Division. Yeah, we'll do this by placard. So all those in favor, please raise your placard.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
How do those on Zoom participate in this?
Do you have
Yes.
in person, Kevin?
18 plus 1.
For folks on Zoom, raise your hand for ayes, nays, and abstentions.
I have everyone in here covered.
Plus, I think it's just +1 on Zoom.
So 8
Mhm.
total. Okay, all those opposed?
4, 5, 6.
7.
Was there no on Zoom?
Nope.
So 6. Abstentions. Vote of 18 to 6 to 3, this motion passes. That's so with that, as Senator Doyle quite appropriately pointed out, it's not a bill, it's not a piece of legislation. It's a confidence vote to ensure that SFRB followed all of their processes, because that's the purpose of SFRB. A lot of the time, Senate likes to think that we have more authority than we actually do, but SFRB is its own special body, and they made these determining decisions. Our role in this is to ensure that in an oversight level, that they did everything that they needed to do. Parliamentary vote.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just wanted to add something about the procedure for this vote that I had overlooked when reviewing this bill. And so in Section 907 of the Constitution, like Senator Doyle and Speaker DeSalvo has been saying, it is the job of the Senate to vote on this fee package as it pertains to how SFRB is done, if they followed their bylaws correctly. Another part of Section 907 that I had overlooked, though, was that this is a vote of confidence. And actually, SFRB didn't need to present this as a bill. They just had to present the PowerPoint presentation. It requires a majority vote of confidence to pass. And so I just wanted to inform the Senate about how that legislative process would work. I would recommend that we just hold that vote of confidence, table the bill. That way it doesn't need to go through that extra step of needing a signature by the president, which is not required given these provisions here in our Constitution. So
If you wrote it, you can just table it with office rights.
Yes, the advisor need to expedite it, okay. Sure, I can table it.
You don't have to table it either. We can just hold that for the conference.
Okay.
And then it can be tabled automatically.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay.
Also, I would just like to add, if any of you have any questions about student fees or SFRB in general, please email me. I want to make sure that your questions are answered and that you do feel confident with what you are voting on. So that's also an option that I just want to put out there, that I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
With that, we'll move into a voting period. We'll do this by placard. So what you're voting on, yes, means that you do have confidence in SFRB and that their processes were followed. No means you don't think that the processes were followed, and an abstention, of course, as always, means that your vote does not count. And so all those in favor.
Wait, really quick, I have a point of information, clarification, asking a question. There are some members within Senate who are also in SFRB. And so this is more of a question for Parliamentarian Clark. Is there any provision in the Constitution, bylaws, et cetera, that prevent folks from voting? I just wanted that to be answered out in the open, because I know that's a question I don't know the answer to.
Sure. So Chair Trout, there are no provisions in the Constitution or the Senate bylaws that keep a senator who's also a member of SFRB from voting on this. I'm not too familiar with the SFRB bylaws, and if there's a provision that pertains to that, but if there isn't, then we should be in the clear.
Okay, I believe the only thing within SFRB bylaws is specific to the ASCSU presentation within SFRB. So if you're a paid member or you were running for elections, you weren't able to vote on the presentation and then the actual package on that front. But I don't think it states anywhere within the bylaws itself. I see Vice President Sandoval frantically searching through the bylaws really quick. So she'll probably have the final answer on that. But okay, thank you.
Raise your hand if you're an SFRB. Thank you.
Yeah.
No, I don't think.
I can say. Did you see
So I found our section about voting and as Chair Trout stated that members who, and it says here, members who anticipate being employees of a fee-funded area during the next academic year shall abstain from any vote related to that fee area. Also, candidates running for office, formal campaign positions, or campaign volunteers shall also abstain from voting on the ASCSU budget. The chair shall have the final discretion as to who must abstain in this circumstance. We don't have anything about voting in ASCSU.
With that being considered, we'll vote now. So just to reiterate, if you're raising your placard in the affirmative, that means that you have confidence in SFRB. No means that you don't, and abstention means your vote doesn't count. So at this time.
Point of clarification, Mr. Speaker, if someone is running for, like you said, running for a position unofficially? can you clarify
So that is just within SFRB when ASCSU comes to present their budget. We already voted on that. So if you decide that you want to run for parliamentarian or even president next year, you can still vote in here.
Okay, and that, does that apply to other, like, let's say, cabinet positions, judicial positions?
As long as you're not in SFRB.
Currently speaking. As long as you're currently not SFRB.
If you're, so, oh, sorry. So the way that we did it was members, when ASCSU went to present their budget, anyone who was paid by ASCSU or won and or ran for an election in ASCSU abstained.
Okay.
It says nothing about ASCSU Senate as a whole.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
All right, let's try this again. So all those in favor that you have confidence in SFRB, please raise your placards.
I'm gonna stay. Yeah, I'm gonna stay.
Okay, go ahead and put them down. All those opposed? And abstentions. My vote of 30 to 1 to 1. This vote of confidence passes.
And again, real quick, anyone who has any additional questions or wants to understand student fees and how the budget and SFRB works, please reach out to me. I would be more than happy to have that conversation with you.
And I'd like to take this time to thank both, Vice President Sandoval and all the SFRB members that are in this chamber. You have all worked very, very hard, digging into the nitty gritty of all of these fee areas. And again, it's largely a thankless job. So please give it up for them as well.
They're gonna make me start crying again.
The long bill passed. It's a big deal.
It is.
Very big deal.
Once again, thank you all for everything that you have taught me and showed me. And I'm just very thankful to have been part of this organization. And I'm really looking forward to just being a regular student and being Mrs. Mason. So.
We'll get into old business, resolution 5207, expansion of all gender housing. If the committee chairs, want to go over any edits they made to this resolution.
And with that, tomorrow's my last day of my internship. You'll also, if anyone needs me, please feel free to message me, but I will be headed out. Have a good night.
The old gender.
Okay. Hello, y'all. So I'm the author and the person that chairs this as well. So DEI added endorsements. Yeah. As well as endorsed it itself and then whereas clauses and therefore clauses were amended to better fit language and different stuff like that. Yeah, I don't know if university, was it sent to all four?
It was sent to DI internal.
Okay, then internal and university, if they have any edits.
Sandy is up next.
Okay, Chair Trout.
University Affairs Committee endorsed this piece of legislation, or sorry, sponsored and discharged. We added a list of individuals the bill would be sent to. These included, oh, just kidding, that's the wrong thingy. I think we just endorsed. I don't know, it's been a while since I've seen this and my notes are wrong. But yeah, I think that's it. I think that's it. I think I have a floor or request for the authors to make a request, because I know the interim director of El Centro was named and the interim director of WGAC was named. Yeah, so if we could reflect those changes, I will send them over Zoom.
I'm pretty, is this on? Okay, yeah, I'm pretty sure we added interim director Erin Escobedo, as well as Erica LaFleur is the assistant director for educational programs. Do you want to add Shannon? I don't know their last name, but
I have it written down because I have another edit that I'm doing with also the interim director. So let me send it, if you're okay with me adding that in as a requesting a floor edit from y'all. Thanks.
yes, yes, that is okay.
All internal did was add a list of endorsements and endorse it as a committee.
Any questions for the chairs? Do the authors accept these changes?
Yes.
Wonderful. And so with that, we'll enter into a period of discussion and debate on this piece of legislation because it will be voted on tonight. Senator Lowe.
So I think that this piece of legislation is really important. I endorsed it. I will be voting yes. I did have a quick question for both of y'all though. Did y'all collaborate with the Student Disability Center in any shape or form on this resolution?
No, but I collaborated with disability activists that are part of the Pride Leadership Council.
Okay. And then I think I would just like to also kind of point out as well that Summit Hall, I was made aware this does not have an elevator.
It does.
Oh, it does?
It does.
Okay. There were some issues with the elevator, but
It's terrible, but it's there.
yeah. Yeah, and so I think that speaks to like the importance also too in this is that a lot of times like the all gender housing options are inaccessible for several reasons. And so I think calling on the university to expand all gender housing is really important because oftentimes a lot of trans students are forced to pick between accessibility or an environment that is affirming to their gender, and very rarely are those spaces actually overlapping. And so I think this resolution is important to kind of put the university in some hot water to say this needs to be better and things will be good.
Yes, and a little shameless plug. Ironically, the interim director of housing and dining reached out to me through Maggie, the director of the Pride Leadership Center, and coming fall 2024, some type of expansion is going to happen, but they have it on the radar now that as student activists, we hopefully are going to pass this with support.
Any other points of discussion, debate?
I have
Seeing none. Oh, go ahead.
So first off, have we discussed where this will be? Is this for all housing options or would this just be for a few? Would this include community style housing?
This is a discussion debate period. I should have done this earlier. It's not necessarily a Q&A period. And so if you have something you want to say on behalf.
My debate would be how this affects many religions and cultures, including Islam, Judaism, Catholicism, just off the top of my head. Furthermore, there are other all gender housing options that aren't being discussed, such as the honors dorms. that's all gender housing. I have a lot of issues with this bill, and I have a lot of questions that have not been answered.
Yeah, so to start, a resolution technically like aims to ask the university or kind of like resolve an issue that is apparent. Coming from my constituency, the Pride Research Center and the Pride Leadership Council, we discussed the idea and different alternatives that we could approach in trying to get all gender housing expanded throughout campus. And in my discussion with the interim director of housing and dining, we're looking at different price points throughout the different dorms on campus, but ideally it's not going to happen this semester for those conversations, from what I got out of it. And then in regard to religion, I'll let Chair Oslan take that. I'll just give it to you.
Hi, I am Muslim. And I've lived in the dorm for years. And so I can speak on the fact that I'm also non-binary. So logging right now forward, I'm trying to get this clarified. So yes, this does present a religious issue. However, just making all gender housing accessible does not automatically mean that it becomes everyone is in all gender housing. It would still be an opt-in system for the safety of the students who are opting into that. We had discussions about that earlier in the year in Pride Leadership Council. We wanted to make sure it was safe and equitable for everyone. As a member of my own, as someone who is Islamic, it's already hard to live in the dorms because I don't know who I'm getting shoved in with. I have lived with a lot of folks. Not very fun. I'm sorry, I'm so close. But having access to all gender housing doesn't automatically place a restriction or hardship on a religion. It doesn't. They can coexist in different times, at the same time in different places and locations. And people can still opt into living how they want to live and where they want to live. And also, as ASCSU resolutions, this would just go to housing and dining and say, we would like to see more. It wouldn't be, we're forcing housing and dining to do this, or we're forcing housing and dining to undertake this. And I yield back to Chair Salazar.
I also just wanted to make a point that you had mentioned Catholicism, and I would just encourage you to look at the letter written by a group of nuns that had kind of encouraged the Pope to become more inclusive of all gender identities. And it's just that while the mainstream of religion might be against it, it's not inherently against any religion.
Associate, do you have anything to add, or do you?
I yield. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Wright.
Hi there. Thank you so much for presenting this. I just wanted to ask the safety of the students who are living in
I'm
this.
sorry. This is a discussion debate period rather than a Q&A period.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, so if you have a point of discussion, you're more than welcome to.
Okay, then yeah, I yield until questions.
If you want, we can talk after.
That would be great, yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
So if you have questions, you'll have to wait until after this resolution passes or not. But the Q&A period is reserved for first reading. Discussion debate is reserved for second reading on bills. So if there aren't any other points of discussion debate, we'll go into a voting period. Seeing none, we'll now move into a voting period. The default is roll call, but I'd entertain motion for any of the voice vote. Voice vote?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor. So what this vote is going to be is which voting method you prefer. So it's not going to be voting on the piece of legislation. And by the way, associates can vote on this because it changes the voting method.
Also, point of information, this requires a 2/3 as well. The bylaws does say we have to do a voice call.
Right, the 2/3 to change the voting method. That's what Senator Carroll means. So all those in favor of doing a voice vote, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
Okay, the ayes have it. And so we'll now be voting on this piece of legislation by voice vote. An aye means that you want this to pass, no means you don't want it to pass, and an abstention means your vote doesn't count. So with that, all those in favor of passing resolution 5207, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstentions? With that, this resolution passes. The next piece of legislation on the docket is Lex 5207, voting rights and chairship. Yes.
I'd like to make a motion for a 5-minute recess.
Okay, all those in favor of taking a 5-minute recess, say aye.
Aye.
Abstentions? I mean, I hear division. There aren't many people in here, but, so we'll do it by placard. All those in favor of taking a 5-minute recess?
Two on Zoom.
13.
Make that 3 on Zoom.
14. Okay, all those opposed? And abstentions? All right, with a vote of 14 to 7 to 1, this motion passes. I'll see you back at 8:59. Right, and so if you could please get back to your seats so we can zoom through this. All right, Lex 5207, voting rights and chairship. If the committee chairs want to just go over any of the edits they made.
Okay, hello, it's me again. So DEI affairs endorsed this.
Wait,
Well-
wait, wait, wait. King, we already did. It went to university, DEI, and university for its second reading. This is third reading, so only budgetary affairs needs to read it edits. Because our edits for the other committees already passed.
Thank you so much, Sandy.
You're so welcome.
I'll yield to Chair Rudiger.
Hey y'all, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Cool, cool. Hold on, I'm pulling it up right now. 1 second. Okay, so budgetary affairs, we discharged this. We only made one change in the 1, 2, 3, fourth last fourth therefore clause. If an associate senate is no longer a chair, their voting rights shall be immediately revoked, and that was the only change that we made. Otherwise, we discharged this, and that was it for budgetary.
So if we could update a grammatical error. It says associate senate, just correct that's a senator. Let's go.
Over here.
No, go. Okay. Wait, stop.
Yes, right there.
There.
It's the second line, it's an associate senate.
Oh yeah, this one.
Then I'd ask, do the authors consent to this amendment? All right, fantastic. So with that, we'll move into period of discussion and debate, starting with the first raised placard. Senator Denson.
I'd like to move to previous question.
Okay. All those in favor of ending the discussion debate period and moving to a voting period, say aye.
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 All those opposed? Abstentions?
Abstain.
And then with that, the default voting method is roll
Motion
call.
for a voice vote.
Okay. So all those in favor of doing this by a voice vote, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstentions?
Abstain.
This will be by voice vote. And so now we're voting on this piece of legislation. So an aye vote means that you want it to pass, so on and so forth. And so all those in favor of passing Lex 5207, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstentions?
Abstain.
Abstain.
Okay, that meets the 2/3 threshold, and this Lex passes. Bill 5221, Accessibility Accountability Act. If the committee chairs want to go over the changes that were made.
Really quick, can I make a floor edit to this one?
Sure.
I want to rename the bill to I can't believe it's not buttons act instead of accessibility accountability act.
All right, that change will be reflected. So with that, committee chairs, if you want to go over the edits that were made.
Yeah, sure. I'll start because I think Chair Salazar is still trying to take things up. So a lot of the changes internal made was just grammatical. Sorry, I couldn't space on what the word was. We did make a big change to one of the therefore clauses. We changed the therefore clause that was previously stating accessibility caucus will welcome all members regardless of ability level, whilst also prioritizing the voice and input of people with disabilities. To therefore be it hereby enacted that the accessibility caucus shall operate under the nothing about us without us doctrine. which is an idea that no policy shall be decided by any representative without the full and direct participation of members of the groups affected by that policy. This was done to make sure that when the space happens, we aren't forcing people to essentially out their disability if they do not want to be heard and like valued as a member of the space. And with that, I yield.
Chair Stalls.
Yes, okay, so DEI sponsored this as well as added some endorsements. And then we added in the fourth therefore clause, a couple of I guess like amendments type thing, basically stating when the accessibility caucus should finish their investigation and when it should be presented to the 53rd Senate. And then other than that, I'm pretty sure that was it for that.
Any other committee chair?
So I'm reading for Chair Trout. So University Affairs Committee endorsed the bill. We added endorsements from individual senators. We replaced future interim director of El Centro with I'm going to butcher this name, Escobedo Ramon, intro director of El Centro, and added Ava Ayala, Speaker of the Senate-elect, Alex Silverhart, Vice President-elect, and Nick DeSalvo, President-elect, as individuals who would receive the bill.
Does the offer consent to these amendments?
Yes. Can I make one floor edit as well? It's gonna be the same floor edit that I made last time of just adding the interim director of WCAG.
Mr. Speaker, so this is, I believe, a mistake on my end, my apologies. I don't believe I had the internal affairs changes. You did, you sent them to me after I sent them out to the front desk, and so that's why that was an oversight on my part, so I apologize for that. But those edits from internal affairs weren't included in the weekly email. It's up to the Senate to decide whether we wanted to read those edits in full, if we wanted to table it to next week in a special session per se, but yeah.
Chair Salazar.
I didn't want to wait the door. So I know this is an ongoing like argument, but since it was not sent on the weekly email, we do have to read it full. So I think if it's just the internal edits or the DI as well. Just internal edits.
And I would add that a special session will already be called. This is kind of news to everyone here. But the Chief Justice has to be ratified in the 52nd Senate. And since this is the last session, there will be a special session. And so in the case that we want to maybe roll this over to that session, that's also a possibility if we don't want to make the edits now.
If I could do a point of clarification, like when are you realistic? When is that special session supposed to happen?
President Law.
There's no date yet, but we're going to be having final interviews for the Chief Justice finalists tomorrow. I would anticipate we have a decision by Friday. I wouldn't bank on that though. Last year we did a special session right before the start of the 52nd. So I guess the most likely outcome could be us doing a special session at like 5:30 on Wednesday next week. But I'm open to any ideas, I suppose.
I guess at this point, it's up to the bill author what you want to do going forward.
I would want to read it, the edits in full tonight, just because it's one committee and it doesn't sound like they made substantial, like they made one substantial change, but it's not like the entire document is changed.
Okay, we'll read those edits in full then. And make those edits on the floor.
Real quick point of clarification, I think. Do you want me to just read exclusively the edits, or do you want me to read the entire document and then paraphrase with the edits?
Just the edits.
Thank you so much. Okay, well done. So I'm gonna go top down, even though it did not happen like this. The first edit that appears on my document is an endorsement by the Internal Affairs Committee. After that, it is okay, and then in the first therefore clause, we paraphrased and changed the sentence that once said that this bill seeks the creation of an accessibility caucus with the sole purpose of investigating broken and or door buttons in disrepair, to state that this bill seeks the creation of an accessibility caucus with the sole purpose of investigating broken and or damaged door buttons to determine the cost for repairs and maintenance. And that's the first there. In the fourth therefore clause, we removed 3 months and made it state that the accessibility caucus must complete their investigation and report by no later than the 6th Senate session of fall 2023 after the establishment of the caucus. And then the sixth therefore clause, which is the one where we made a big change. We changed what originally stated that the accessibility caucus will welcome all members regardless of ability level, whilst also prioritizing the voice and input of people with disabilities, to state that the accessibility caucus shall operate under the nothing about us without us doctrine, which is an idea that no policy should be decided by any representative without the full and direct participation of members of the groups affected by that policy. In the 10th therefore clause, we changed that all future ASCSU Senates reinstate to that all future ASCSU Senates repropose that the accessibility caucus. And we changed in the list of, access barriers on campus to demonstrate commitment to inclusion of disabled, deaf. We added hard of hearing spelled out in front of the abbreviation hard of hearing. And then there was a formatting change that occurred on the list of names because my document just sent it all the way down to the bottom of a completely separate page and I brought it back up. Do I have to read those two?
No, was it just the appointees of the Colorado Disability Services and Higher Education Advisory Committee?
Yes, that was
Okay.
the only other one that was changed.
Okay.
Sweet.
Interesting.
Would you
sorry.
like, would you like me to re-email you the document to make adding the floor edits easier?
He's doing it right now.
They've already been added.
Sweet, thanks. All right, then we're done.
Chair Trout, did you have something?
Yeah, I just wanted to add with the appointees that was involved in the like lower section. If you like scroll down a little bit, parliamentarian, in this list. But I wanted to make sure that that list was the same, more or less, for both that and the top one. So that's why we made that change as well. Just so that was clear. We'll also be reaching out the members of the Accessibility Caucus. I'm personally going to be encouraging them to reach out to that committee to see if they're working on anything. But I didn't have them added as like a resource to go to like the SDC because they're in charge of higher education across the state and the SDC is just for CSU. And so I thought that would just be easier and more accessible in a speedy manner. But that's all I had.
Thank you. Does the author consent to these changes? All right, with that, we will enter into a discussion debate period, starting with the first raised placard. Yeah, Chair Salazar.
I would like to say a point of order that according to bylaws, until substantial conversation has occurred, we cannot motion to move to the next question.
There's also a member on Zoom that has a question or a point of discussion debate. My apologies.
Okay.
Oh, I heard you reclaim it, right? I yield. But one more, never mind, no, I yield.
Okay. Who's on Zoom?
I have a point of discussion. So according to Title III of the ADA, it requires any university to provide equal opportunity for all of their program services, and the university will be required to make accommodations, modifications to program services or activities that it provides, including housing. The Colorado Anti-Discrimination Act is a state law that prohibits discrimination in employment and housing. Furthermore, the Fair Housing Act of 1988 is a federal law that requires people with disabilities to be granted accommodations in order to afford them equal enjoyment of their dwelling, which includes university housing. Now, as a freshman that lives in the dorms, I am currently living in Summit in an ADA hall. This ADA hall does not have access to any sort of ADA button. I have had multiple issues getting my wheelchair through any sort of hallway in Summit. And it has become such an issue that RAs have had to help me physically carry my wheelchair into my door. And it is honestly embarrassing, not fair, and does not follow the literal law. I yield.
Thank you. Senator Taylor.
I don't want to discount anybody's issues that they've had, but to me, this doesn't feel like the job of a caucus. It feels like the job of the SDC, and something that they specifically should be doing because they do exist to help the disabled students on campus. And so this feels to me like a job that the SDC should be doing and not one of ASCSU. So I yield my time.
Any other?
I actually have a point of clarification with that.
Okay.
So the SDC actually exists solely to serve students. Their job is to facilitate giving students what's called a 504 plan. This comes from the Rehabilitation Act. Section 504 entitles anyone in a public institution that receives state or federal aid to receive reasonable modifications to academic coursework that enables them to participate equally. So the SBC is solely focused on legal compliance. Door buttons are not actually a part of the Americans with Disabilities Act. And so that is one part of it. The other part as well is that the SDC, much like the WGAC, serves a much larger population than justified for just open flow or just a and just NAC, right? Like those offices are able to focus in a lot more on a specific identity, whereas SDC is focused on serving and making sure like that over 3,000 students that they support get their accommodations. They're also more involved with negotiating with faculty. I just spoke with Director Justin Dove about this today. He said, like, I wish I had a current staff of 50 people who could go out and investigate door buttons and work with facilities to make sure that they are up to compliance and their campus is accessible, but that's just not where we're at. This bill exists because there is no other option. If we don't look at the door buttons, nobody's gonna look at the door buttons. It's not the SDC's job. So with that, I go.
Chair Salazar.
Yes, and kind of to like reiterate, and as well as like a little bit of plug or resolution, kind of like no, it's not resolution, never mind, ignore that part. But this could kind of like follow like the Pride Resource Center, as well as with my constituency, like the expansion of all gender housing. Like ideally, it's not the job of like students to do it, but as student body representatives, we have the ability to kind of say, hey, this is what's happening around campus, like fix it, because you know we're not complying with our folks that are disabled or I mean not able-bodied.
Non-disabled?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to make sure my terms are correct. And you know, this is a lovely bill, and it will ideally go through the summer and into the 53rd session. But I think it's important as student activists that we're making sure that the university is compliant in DEI, especially even though considering the university doesn't really acknowledge accessibility in the DEI initiatives. They do acknowledge justice and social justice and the principles of communities. And if they're not going to do it, no one will. And that's like a harsh reality of what it means to live in society today. And sadly, it's always student activists that are the ones that are at the forefront fighting for people that are historically marginalized or underrepresented across everything. So I encourage everyone to vote yes, because this is lovely. And ironically, the bill says it for itself. Like, I can't believe it's not buttons, because the buttons don't really work. Hashtag Braden Paul, because, and I, or if I can, just motion the previous question.
All right, is there a second?
Say.
All right, all those in favor of ending the discussion debate period and going into a voting period, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
All righty, well, with that, we will go into a voting period. All right,
Motion for voice vote.
okay, is there a second? So all those in favor of doing this voting method by voice, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Abstentions? Okay,
Abstain.
this passes. And so now we're voting on the actual piece of legislation, and it will be by voice. So all those in favor of this and want to pass Bill 5221, say aye.
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 All those opposed? Abstentions? All right, with that, Bill 5221 passes.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.
Moving on to new business, Bill 5222 changes to the LSAT bylaws. Director Welch.
This is going to be Bill 5222, changes to LSAT bylaws, abstract changes made to the LSAT bylaws for next year.
Hi, everyone. As you can see, I got a really, really cool abstract. I didn't realize how good it was until I had parliamentarian clerk read it, so thank you. Anyway, so what this is, so normally, so LSAT was legislative strategic advisory board. So what we do is every year, my department, the Department of Government Affairs, will have people basically discuss with them what certain policies CSU should go to ASCSU and CSU to advocate for to try to get done. Like this year we advocated a little bit for a McKit. Just thing on the state level, one of them was, I think, was farming tools, gonna fix them yourselves. There's many other things we looked at. Same way we made a kind of a grants committee called City Council Acts Committee, where like we fought more about against 2+2. So this board is very involved with basically creating change for CSU students on the state and local level, and even national level. We like get into it later, but that hasn't happened yet. And so, unfortunately, because of COVID, the bylaws kind of like came to disrepair. But so what it's supposed to do is supposed to update in the beginning of the year. But because to make this small change, because every year you make a little change, but because they haven't been changed in such a long time, I couldn't do like this one small change, so I had to make a lot of changes. And in the Constitution, it says if I make a lot of changes by the end of the 3 weeks of the beginning of the school year, I have to create a bill. So that's the reason why it's in the bill. And every change I made is simply because in the Constitution, it says I have to do this way. However, normally every other person, they'll only make a small change. This will happen at the end of the year and they will not have to be in a bill. And I was going to expedite this because I don't really want to change the changes I've made. I talked to them in my committee and we all agree on them. So if I could, do you want to read everything or do you want me to read everything? Okay, can you read all of it?
Yeah, just the whole bill.
Yeah, could you like stop at every single therefore and ask for any questions so I can answer them?
Sure. Whereas these are the changes made to the LSAT bylaws, and therefore be it hereby enacted in Article 3, these have been added for students who are not members of the 3 branches in ASCSU, and students not in the 3 branches will be chosen by the chairs of LSAB and ratified by the ASCSU Senate. As well, this now needs to be done by the 5th week of the fall semester. The second section of this article has been removed.
Has been removed, yeah,
Okay, sure.
got that wrong. And the reason why it like kind of looks weird on that is because the 5 weeks thing is supposed to be like not doing things like that's not in the bylaws, we recommend they're not in the same place. Okay. That's the reason why.
And
Yeah.
are there any questions regarding this particular therefore clause? Okay, moving on. Therefore, be it hereby further resolved or enacted that in Article 4, there have been added, the chair will be the head of the Department of Governmental Affairs or whatever department handles this. In Section 2, vice chair. The vice chair will be chosen by the chair. They will have voting rights unless they are chairing the meeting if the chair is unable to. And are there any questions about this therefore clause? Okay. Therefore, be it hereby further enacted. In Article 5, this has been added. In Section 1, the board shall meet once per week during the academic semester or at the discretion of the chairperson's people. In Section 2, the board may, by a 2/3 majority vote, elect to go into an executive session where non-board members shall excuse themselves from attendance. In Section 6, the board will operate under casual discussion unless the co-chairs decide that Robert's Rules of Order must be implemented. 1, all persons should raise their hands before speaking, and the chairperson will call upon each person when it is their respective turn. And are there any questions to this particular therefore clause? Okay, moving on. Therefore, be hereby further enacted that in Article 7, Section 5, this has been added. However, LSAB can sponsor to or can vote to sponsor a piece of legislation by a simple majority vote or endorse a piece of legislation with a 3/4 majority. And are there any questions about this one? Oh, it's okay. Therefore, be it hereby further enacted, a new added article says, Article 10, entities subordinate to LSAB, the City Council Action Committee, and other state and local policy department entities that deal with local, state, and national policies, and their relation with ASCSU will be overseen by LSAB. These entities have the autonomy to create their own bylaws. Any questions about this, therefore, clause?
Can we please make floor edits to fix the spelling?
I'll just go ahead and.
Thank you.
Therefore, be it hereby further enacted that any necessary copies of legislation be sent on to anyone interested or concerned, such as, and I believe it's just President McConnell. There is no more Joseph McConnell at CSU, so I just can change that to Amy Parsons. Okay, that should be it.
All right. Are there any questions on the bill overall?
Seeing none, the author does wish this to be expedited. Yes, Senator Hill.
Yeah, I have a motion. Motion to have this piece of legislation expedited for unanimous consent.
Is there any dissent to that motion? Seeing none, this bill is expedited. And so now it's technically in its second reading. So we'll have discussion debate on this piece of legislation, starting with the first raised placard. Yep, Senator Denson.
I am in favor of this, and then hopefully this satisfies the need for discussion. I will move to previous question.
Okay, is there a second?
Seconded.
Okay. All those in favor of exiting the discussion debate period and going into a voting period, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstentions? This motion passes. I would entertain a motion to approve this piece of legislation.
Motion to approve this with unanimous consent.
Is there any dissent to that motion? Seeing none, this bill passes.
Thank you very much, everyone. This will make the next person that's job much easier to begin next year. Thank you.
We did postpone the VSOP bill, so Bill 5224 and 5225. I'm an author on that, so I have to step down as chair.
Ava, could you be temporary parliamentarian for me? Thank you.
Yeah, that's first.
Okay. Here we go. Senator McCall, could you please read the title and the abstract of the bill for me?
The title of this bill is Executive Job Description. And abstract says this bill seeks to update the executive job descriptions for the 2023 through 2024 academic year.
Okay, Speaker DeSalvo, you have 10 minutes.
Fantastic. So, yeah, every year the job descriptions have to be passed through the Senate again if there are any changes to them. And there had to be changes made simply because of the budget issues that we faced. We'll kind of expound on that a little bit more when we go over the budget. But some positions had to be removed. The director of campus engagement, that position was slashed and it was made a deputy role under the director of traditions. And so it's under that peer review. But what you'll see is that some of the positions that were cut as a result of the budget problems are still included in the job description. And that is because it's really unknown to us, first of all, what enrollment is going to look like. If we have more enrollment, then that means that we have more money coming our way from student fees. That would shore up some money to include these positions. Additionally, if money rolls over from the current administration into next year, that would also shore up some more funds. And so we had to make some really, really tough decisions as far as the positions to cut and which to keep. But hopefully we can still have all of the positions that are in the job descriptions. The only addition to the job description, of course, is the deputy director of traditions that was added. And then there is a deputy director of alumni affairs. And their goal is to reach out to alumni and then possibly hold fundraising events so that more money could be open to ASCSU because of the budget problem. Like I said, we'll go over it more, but each department was cut by around 20% across the board. And so, as you heard before with the SFRB presentation, we're still dipping into the fund balance, even with the 15% increase, even with cutting positions. But we're not dipping into the fund balance in the hundreds of thousands, which we want it to stay that way. So I'll take any questions. This is on its first read, and so it'll move farther in the process, but I'll take any questions at this time.
Thank you, Speaker DeSalvo. I'll open up 10 minutes of Q&A, starting with the first placard, but really quick. We have hit 30 minutes on the confidence clock. I would entertain any motion to extend the confidence clock. We can extend it by, I believe, 1 additional hour. And so we entertain any motion for that.
I motion to extend the confidence clock by an hour.
Okay, I hear a motion. Has there been a second? Okay.
Seconded.
Okay, all 4, please say aye.
Aye.
All
Nay.
students. Okay, with that, the confidence clock has been extended by 1 hour. I'll go ahead and put that in there now. And with the first raised placard, we'll begin Q&A on this bill. Any members in person or on Zoom wish to ask any questions for the bill author?
As there does not appear to be any questions asked, I motion a previous question.
Thank you, Senator. Was that Senator Doyle? I believe so. However, since it's in its first reading, we will just send it to committees afterwards. Correct? Yep, there's no plan to expedite it tonight. Okay, great. With
I
that,
have a quick question if no one else is on the list.
Sure. Chair Trout?
So I noticed this also during the SFRB presentation, but I noticed that the traditions and programs discretionary fund is, I believe, either like $5,000 or $10,000 lower than Office of the President. And so I kind of want to know a little bit of the reasoning behind that decision.
That is a different bill.
Oh, just kidding. Hee hee ha ha. Never mind.
It's coming up, Sam.
It's on your radar now, which I appreciate.
Okay, thank you. Chair Chuck, do you?
Yes, I yield.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions? Fantastic. For this bill, I will go ahead and send it to internal. Actually, we'll just go ahead and send it to all 4 committees just because of the significance of it. So University, Internal, DEI, and Budgetary will see this bill.
Okay, so point of information before we move on to the next bill, just to save some time. The executive budget does not need to be in bill form. It merely needs to be presented for Senate for approval and discussion about whether or not we approve of how that is. So there is no need for the bill to be expedited or sent to committee because it does not need to be as a bill. The only requirement is that Senate approves it and that it was sent to BSOF before being sent to Senate.
Yeah, and to that point, we presented it to SFRB and we presented it to BSOF, so it does meet those requirements.
Okay, seeing those requirements have been met, looks like a bill isn't needed for this budget, and so we can go ahead and present it during that special session. Okay. Therefore, I believe we have concluded with old or new business, right? Unless there is. Yep, that's correct. We've concluded with our new business as well, and so I will relinquish the chair back over to Speaker DeSanto.
Fantastic, thank you.
One information, what about the executive budget?
Did you need that question to be answered, or did you get it? It seemed like you got it.
Yeah, it was,
Okay. So with that, we'll move now to ending roll call. Clerk will call the roll.
I motion to use beginning roll calls, ending roll call, and to include everything in live.
Can do that. Is there a second? Okay, we'll do this by voice vote. All those in favor of using ending as beginning?
Point of information, can I be added to that first?
Yeah, and go ahead, if that's you on Zoom or in person, put that in the chat. If you're in person, come up to the clerk afterwards. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Abstentions?
Abstain.
I do believe the ayes have it. And so with that, ending roll call will be, beginning roll call will be used as ending roll call. And then if folks have reports, you're more than welcome to do that. I would also entertain a motion to adjourn at this point.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay. All those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
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 All those opposed? Abstentions? And then if you do feel the need, please put those reports in the Slack. Have a great night. Thank you.
Is anyone driving? I want to ride home because it's scary and dark and cold. But if not, I can walk. Awesome.
Have a great night, everyone. Thanks. Oh.
Where the buffaloes are thunder as down, feel free thunder, nice cover. Why they call your mind, but I don't think so. Fight, 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 go!